So we're going to start with volume. Anyways, today's the 25th, right? And so today we're going to do like unit rates, conversions. So I have this broken up into three parts. I have it as volume. I think that it's good to go out into the world and know your volume conversions. And then I have length conversions, and then I have some weight conversions, which these would all be different if we were doing metrics. But I did look through the Delta or not the Delta, but the IXL, and I'm pretty sure everything's in imperial or standard units like the American. So I think today everything is miles, feet, pounds. Whereas if we were across the pond, it would be kilometers.
Or anywhere else in the world.
Or anywhere else in the world, right? But we stubbornly dig in our heels. So anyways, today's going to be yards, feet, miles, inches, pounds, stuff like that. So the rest of the world, I'm sure you've heard it all before. Metrics are the way to go, right? But we're stubborn. So anyways, we're going to start with volume. And that's, volume is a measure of like capacity, I think, or is the word that they use across the pond. Like how much does something hold? So let's first talk about a gallon. And I don't want this to take too long because I just want to get into some math problems. So let's knock these out as quick as we can. What is a gallon? There we go. Good job, guys. So that is 4 quarts. And we, of course, have abbreviations for all of these. Gallon, I think, is like people just use GA, maybe GAL. Quart would be like QT, right? Okay. What else is a gallon? You guys are good. Impressive. And what else is a gallon? Yeah, you guys are really freaking me out right now. Is this just common knowledge?
I hope so.
Well, you would, but I'm a little taken aback by this. Honestly, the speed with which you're knocking these out is really, really impressive.
Well, when you also like cook and bake, these are important things to know.
I think so.
Yeah, let's knock down a couple more conversions, and then we'll go backwards. We'll head back up and do the gallon to ounce conversion because that one requires a little bit more precision. That's not the right word. So let's talk about a quart. What is a quart? Yeah. What also is a quart? Very good. I want you to have this in your notes just because as we do today and maybe tomorrow's work, I want us to be able to have this as a reference because the vast majority of the stuff in today's assignment is converting something into something else so that you can get a price. So we want to be quick. Like I don't want you to have to Google it every single time, basically. Have like a resource handy. And what's a pint? And finally, what's a cup? Right. And just to be clear, let's make a distinction between ounces and fluid ounces. And so because we're talking about the volume, liquid volume here, then we would want to refer to that generally as fluid ounces. So there's a difference because we're going to hear ounces again when we get to like weight or volume, or not volume, but like weight or mass. So let's refer to these as fluid ounces. So let's head back up and take the gallon. Let's go all the way back up here, and I'm going to enter one right here. Can anyone do gallons all the way down to ounces?
164. I'm pretty sure.
I think it's 128. But just to be clear, like remember a gallon is 16 cups, but we just talked about what a cup is. How many ounces are in a cup? 8 fluid ounces. And so if you have 8 per cup and you have 16 cups, 8 times 16 is 128 fluid ounces. So any questions or anything about that? That sounds like something you're all pretty familiar with, I think. So, and that is, you're right, Peyton. That's pretty common with like having to bake. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Good point. All right, so let's head over to length. And again, we're going to talk just about imperial measures here. So what is 1 mile? The mile for us is like the supreme,
16 millimeters.
and again, did you do that? Just,
I'm thinking track. I'm thinking track. But a mile and 16.
does anyone know the conversion from miles to yards? I tried to come up with every possible conversion that I thought you might need. There's 1,760 yards in a mile. Do you guys know what a yard is? 3 feet, right? So while we're at it, let's do, I'm glad. Good. And it's worth it to kind of try to memorize as much of it as you can, but just always be resourceful. What is a mile in terms of feet? Nice job. All of us Broncos fans definitely know that one, right? 5,280 feet. Right?
Oh, is that the elevation level?
It is. That's why it's called Mile High Stadium. There's actually a row of seats in Mile High Stadium that's colored differently because those seats sit at like to the inch exactly 5,280 feet above sea. Not that you sit around and watch a lot of Broncos games, but if you were to, you'd see there's a special row of seats that's marked. Pretty cool, huh? That's why Denver's called the Mile High City. Its elevation is 5,280
You know,
feet.
we're higher than that. You don't get a
We
credit
are.
for it.
I know, right? There should be a name for us. The oxygen deprived city.
But no, it's called how's your oxygen up in Laramie? They ask like the teams.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they remind them as they're walking out of the locker room, like welcome to 7280 or something like that.
Yeah.
Finally, this one is a pretty silly conversion, but just in case it were to pop up, which I mean, I don't really think it's very common for this to happen, but let's convert miles to inches. I mean, obviously, imagine you put a tape measure down or a ruler or something, and you think about the concept of an inch. And an inch you can kind of visualize with your fingers there and see an inch is pretty small, right? How many of those does it take to go an entire mile, do you think?
360.
Nice job. 63,360. And all of these can be obtained. You got to start somewhere though. Like there always has to be like one basic. And I think the one that most people know, I'll star it on this one, is probably the miles to feet. That just, I think, generally is pretty common. But if you start with that, then you can divide it by 3 to get yards and then multiply it by 12 to get inches. So on a related note, let's head down. That's all we would want to talk about with miles. Let's talk about a yard. What is a yard? Say it again. Yeah, perfect. And what else is a yard? Perfect, 36 inches, very good. All right, and then the final conversion for this, I'm trying to be structured and like work our way down to the smallest possible units. What's a foot? 12 inches, good. So that should be all the conversions you guys need for length. Again, barring the conversation about metrics, but metrics are nice because really you do have to memorize somewhat in metrics, all the prefixes like kilo and hecto and deci and deca, stuff like that. But why is the metric system so sweet? Right. The rest of the world understands the sensibility of that. It's by tens and decimals. Decimal points go by tens. Do you want to convert from centimeters to meters? Move the decimal. It's like no brainer. But I digress. There's the last one I wanted to talk to you guys about is weight. We would call it weight. The rest of the world would call it mass. Like, when you put something on a scale. So the first one is a word that I feel like a lot of people know, but what is a ton? It is right smack on the, in case you didn't know this, a ton is exactly 2,000 pounds.
Is there like certain like rules that like when you like reach port of entry that like your truck can't be over a certain
Right. They'll give you like the GVW, the gross vehicle weight.
Mhm.
Yeah. You bet.
It's a pretty hefty fine because it messes up the roads.
Yeah. Yeah. what is I'm going to put one kind of, I'm going to want you to leave just a little bit of space here and let's do a simple one. What is a pound? Yeah, and these are not fluid ounces. And so this time we wouldn't write the little FLOZ, we would just write OZ. So that's a measure, when it's a measure of weight, we just call it ounces. If it's like liquid or some kind of volume, call it fluid ounces, generally. And then somewhere in between there, there's another one that, again, will it pop up? I don't know, but might as well get her done. Let's make it official. A 1 ton is equal to how many ounces? If you think about it, it's 2,000 pounds, right? And each pound is 16 ounces. So what would we do to get the number of ounces in a ton? Multiply them, you got it. And that's 32,000. So if you had a ton, ton's a lot of weight, right? 2,000 pounds, that's a lot. If you multiply those, if you had a ton of something, that's 32,000 ounces worth of that something. So while I realize that may not be very exciting, I thought it would be good for you to develop that as a resource so that you don't have to go to Google every time. And based on that first couple minutes, you guys are pretty solid with your conversions. So you seem to know a lot of this already. So having gotten through that, I just have some practice problems I want to knock out, and then we'll work on IXL after this. And so these problems can be interesting. They can be a little bit tricky. What we're going to do is we're going to be given, listen, I opted, by the way, to skip. Let me do this. I'm going to call an audible myself. I'm going to add something into the lesson here just to make sure. Let's say you get a 10-ounce package of something. We'll call it like croutons. So you get like a 10-ounce package of croutons and it costs $2.64. This is not what we're doing. I left this out because I didn't want you to feel like I was insulting your intelligence. But do you guys know how to find the unit cost of these croutons? Yeah, you divide. And the order that you divide them in is the key. This is usually where I find the most mistakes happen, is right here. So the way I always remembered it is like this. It's always money divided by stuff. For generally practical purposes, rarely are you going to go the other way and like figure out how many ounces you get per penny. Like most people don't do that. Instead, we generally say, what's the cost per ounce? So back to this, the key here is that you have to divide in the right order. And that is always going to be, for practical purposes, money divided by stuff. So like in a case like this, you would take the amount of money. You don't have to use a calculator for something like this. But if you take the amount of money, which is 2.64, and you divide it by 10, so 2.64 is the money, 10 is the number of units that you got, and this counts, in this case, ounces, and that would be 26.4. So we could say like $0.264 per ounce. Got it? Now that's just a fundamental skill. So again, I didn't want to give you a whole assignment on that because it really wouldn't be very fun. So that's how you calculate a unit price. So what I've concocted for you guys is just a handful of examples, and we're going to kind of coach ourselves through how to answer these, and then you should be good to rock and roll. So write these down or don't. The first one, I have a 3-pint bottle of something, and assume please that it's not like an adult beverage or something like shampoo or conditioner or something like that. So it's a 3-pint bottle of Shamrock Shake, sure, and it comes out to $4.32. So this would not be a difficult question if I said to you, what's the cost per pint? Because as we just learned, you would just do 4.32 divided by 3. You're like, oh, that's easy. But the question is, what's the price per gallon? So any strategies for this that you guys can think of? I mean, I know what I would do, but I wonder maybe to keep you a little more engaged, keep you from falling asleep. What do you think would be a practical strategy at this point in time? We could do price per pint and then we could modify that to become a price per gallon. We could do that. Because there's like not just one way to do these. So I'm not against that one at all. I think I kind of like that. So find the cost per pint and then convert it to gallons. Yeah. Let's go down this road. And again, I don't think it's going to be kind of a one size fits all. Like, I don't think we find one strategy that works and then we ride it like every single time. It's like maybe something different would work. I think I like that a lot. So let's do just a basic unit rate and figure out what is $4.32. Remember, always do money divided by stuff. So if I divide the total cost by the number of pints, what would I get? Good. So based on the two things that I have in red up here, the thing I have underlined in red, we can say that whatever this is, this stuff in this bottle costs $1.44 per pint. But again, that's not what the problem asked for. It asked us for the price per gallon. And so, yeah, and this is where our conversions really help us. There are 8 pints in a gallon. Good job. So if it costs this much for a pint, then the conversion is going to save the day. Thanks, Aubrey. We're just going to take this and we're going to multiply it by 8. And I hope that makes sense, right? Because there's 8 pints in a gallon. So if I take $1.44, anyone else want to multiply that one for me? Thank you. So that means that whatever this is costs $11.52 per gallon.
I'm still understand what they, like when the government is really trying to test their luck.
I'm sorry, what?
We don't understand why shaky cans and McDonald's is really trying to test their luck.
Shamrock Shake, right. I don't think the Shamrock Shakes are just a ripoff. My son really likes them.
All it is a vanilla steak with mint flavoring added in.
I'm gonna start making them at home because I think I can make them better. Yeah, you betcha.
Make it handle or whatever.
True that. So let's say we get a 10-quart bucket of something. Again, I don't know what it is. What did you say? Okay. Just please don't call me on the poor pricing because I didn't like actually research this or anything. So let's say that we got but I did come up with the numbers because I was messing with them. So let's say that we get a 10-quart bucket of oil, as Dalton said, and it cost us $29.35. What does a single quart of oil cost now? Oh, so really are you kidding? Oh, no, wait, you were doing the math on my problem. I got excited. I mean, like, does anyone actually know if I go to like for a quart? Okay, so this is a little off, but we'll say this problem was from 1980. How's that? Okay, so we got a 10-quart bucket of oil, and the question is going to be, what is the price of this oil per cup? So I like the strategy. We could employ the exact same strategy as last time. There's a different strategy on IXL, but I think I like your guys's. So what would we do here? Yeah, just do your basic unit cost. I agree. So we're going to take the $29 and 35 cents, and we're going to divide it by the 10, because you always want to divide how much you're paying by how many units of whatever you're getting, and that's going to come out to $2 and roughly. And I might leave some accuracy here. I might say that it's $2.935 per quart. So let's be smart about this. First of all, what's the relationship between cups and quarts? There's 4 cups in a quart. So if I want to go from knowing the cost of a quart, and there's other ways to do this, by the way, but if I want to go from knowing the cost of 1 quart to I want to know the price per cup, divide, right? And that should make sense that the cost is going to go down as the size of what you're getting goes down, right? A cup is way smaller than a quart. So you wouldn't want to do something silly like multiply that by 4, right? That would just be weird. So 4 cups and a quart. So we take the $2 and the $2.935. There's no harm in leaving that extra decimal place on there for a little while, by the way. So if we take 2.935 and we divide it by 4, we figure out that it's about roughly 73 cents per cup.
Oh.
So like if you were doing when you're doing the IXL, if it has a box and it has the dollar sign for you like this, then you could put in 0.73, right? But if it had a cents sign, which would of course go afterwards, like this, then you would just put in 73. I don't think it does a lot with cents signs. I think everything's just in terms of dollars. So 0.73. So far, so good? There, back to normal. There's also some questions where I think you guys are going to be okay. There's going to be comparison problems. So the question is going to be, which of these is a better value? I think they would phrase it as which is a better buy. So what we want to do is we want to, I was just trying to refocus. We have to find the, well, you were looking at me silly and he was yip yapping. So we want to find basically the unit cost of each one and then compare. So for the first one, we have a 5-pound bag of something. Don't know what it is. I just don't. What? What did you say? Gut guard?
You don't know what that is?
No.
That's the, yeah, that's the.
You need to go do some ag like something.
So let's say we had a 5-pound bag of gut guard for $20.85. And you can also, right next to it on the shelf, buy a 150-ounce bag of gut guard for $37.20. Listen, at the end of the day, if you've got plenty of money and you just know you need the bigger bag, you'll just buy whichever one's the bigger bag, right? But if you're, if money is one of those things that you worry about, which most people do, then you would want to know, where is my better value here? Like, should I buy 2 of these? Should I just buy 1 of those, 3 of those, whatever? Where am I going to get the best bang for my buck? So the question is, which one is the better value? So how are we going to figure this out? I'm so impressed with the words that you just chose to use. And if you don't mind, I'd like to repeat them. Is that okay? You have to find a standardized unit. I loved the way you said that. And so this really is a good move here is let's just right now turn pounds into ounces or ounces into pounds. I can't tell you though that it's always easier to turn bigger units into smaller units. So what we want to do is we want to take 5 pounds and we want to turn, great job, Aubrey. We want to turn 5 pounds into ounces. How many ounces are in a pound? So what is 5 pounds? Like that's going to be, right, that's going to be 5 times 16, right? If each pound has 16 ounces, 5 times 60 is 80. So this is the key. And again, excellent work on this, Aubrey, is now we have a standardized unit and we can look at this and you've heard the expression like compare apples to apples. And that's, I'll see you tomorrow. And so that's what we're going to do now is we're going to compare them straight up. So excellent. Thanks for getting us started on that. So remember, if I want to find the unit cost of the first bag, the 80-ounce bag, I just divide. And you can see that these are kind of close to each other. If you're a mental math person, you're like, it's reasonably close. So let's figure out the difference. So what is going to be someone other than Micah, and no offense, but I would like to know that more of you know the answer. How am I going to find the cost per ounce for the top one? Perfection. Good. So let's all do that together. If you have a calculator, let's type in 20.85 and let's divide it by the 80 ounces. And then you can round, but I probably at this point wouldn't, just in case I need a little accuracy later. So I'm going to call that about 26.06 cents per ounce. Everybody got that? And then we're going to do the same thing for the bottom one, and we're going to take $37.20 and we're going to divide it by the 150 ounces that we're getting. And this one comes out to 24.8 cents per ounce. So not to insult you with this question. No, because we're not looking for percents here. So the only time we multiply by 100 is when we are getting a percent. Like what's the percent of increase? But these are just straight up, like those are already in terms of pennies. Got it? Well, they're in terms of dollars. Do you want to multiply them by 100? Yeah, I shouldn't have. I don't know why I jumped on that. If you want to multiply them by 100, go ahead. Yeah, it's right now they're in terms of dollars. So yeah, my bad. So who's the better buy?
150 ounce.
Right, very good. Hang on a second. I have yet another interruption to my class. So here are the skills that I want you guys to get done. The first one is sort of interesting. It's BMW. Yeah, I can't explain that. That just is what it is. I found a skill and I went, oh, it's BMW. And then the other one is Lawrence Taylor 6. Like that. Got it? Those are the two. Please, you don't have to work on them today or tonight. They're what we're going to do in class like tomorrow. And if you're going to be gone taking the ACT, then you can work on it like some other time. Like, got it?